The Gambia now has a commissioner in the ECOWAS Commission that was recently nominated by His Excellency the President. And this is a young, patriotic, dedicated Gambian who has proved to us during his tenure of office in the Commission that President Jammeh has not made a mistake in identifying him. We have gained a lot of late. We'll soon benefit from a transfer of resources that will bolster our efforts in the energy sector. And the delegation led by the Vice President did represent the Gambia well in making sure that our voice is heard and our interest is protected in this very important sub-regional body.
These are exciting times for the region as the more than 300 million strong bloc aims to chart a new future for its citizens, backed by an expanded level of cooperation and economic integration of the people of the region.
I also believe that ECOWAS continues to be dynamic. There's a lot of room for improvement, but I think over time we've seen the implementation of projects that are beneficial to members of the organization.
When next the leaders of the region converge for another summit, they will look back on the 43rd ordinary session of the regional summit as a turning point in the drive to create a more viable and prosperous ECOWAS, at peace with itself and prosperous enough to realize the dreams and vision on which it was founded. For Grts News, this is Babukar Senghor.
Officials of the Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure have signed a multi-million-dollar contract with technical, economic and engineering company based in France. The agreement is expected to look into the design review as well as pre-contract services and work supervision of the Trans-Gambia Bridge project for the vital Yelitenda-Bambatenda ferry crossings. Abdullah Baji has details of that story in this report.
Project funded by the African Development Bank (ADB) is for the design review, pre-contract services and work supervision of the Trans-Gambia or Yelitenda-Bambatenda Bridge project. The agreement for the construction of the bridge was signed by the governments of the Republic of Gambia and Senegal, and since then the two sides have been making efforts to see its full implementation.
We expect the bridge contract, the construction contract, to be delivered within, of course, the required programs. We are not looking forward to any extensions.
The Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure, Abdullah O. Kamara, expressed gratitude to the ADB for what he called a timely intervention.
Please allow me to offer our profound gratitude and appreciation to the African Development Bank for the steadfast assistance and support in the realization of this project. And I am sure the relationship between the bank and the ministry will continue to grow from strength to strength.
The Minister of Transport, Works and Infrastructure, Francis Litimboge, said the timely implementation of this project is indeed crucial, stressing that it will significantly impact the lives of the Gambian people and by extension the sub-region.
We'd like to thank the President for his stance in ensuring that we take full responsibility and ownership of this project, and with that stance has even facilitated the rapid start to this project, which has been in the pipeline, like I said, for a very long time. We are very excited in the ministry to be associated with this project, and I'm sure the consultant, as you just said, that in France there are too many bridges, and like I said, been there, seen it, done it, but in this instance you're involved in a project that has a significant impact on the lives of Gambians, even not talking about the impact it has on the region with regards to sub-regional trade, the transit of goods and services, which obviously about 90% of the users of this bridge would come from neighboring countries. Nonetheless, for the Gambia, it opens up the country with a bridge across north-south bank that will facilitate movement of our people.
CETEC Group, as it is popularly called, is a French engineering firm founded in 1957 with over 2,000 employees. It is a renowned partner of contracting owners and firms due to the quality of its engineers and services and its capacity to deal with the most complex subjects. For his part, the Chief Executive Officer of Technical, Economical and Engineering Company, otherwise SETEC Group, assured the Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure of his company's resolve to construct the bridge in a timely manner. The 3-year contract is expected to kick off in 2014. Reporting for Grts News, I am Abdullah Baji.
A fierce storm swept through the Nyani district, leaving 2 people dead and a trail of destruction in its wake. According to community elders and residents, this was the worst storm they have ever seen. But as we hear in this report by Mamadou Diallo, the large-scale destruction of homes comes at a critical time when the cropping season is just starting.
Around 10 p.m. Tuesday night, when many communities in the Nyani district had retired after a long day of fasting and work in the farms. The ferocity of the storm was such that it swept away roofs and uprooted trees. Not a single village in Nyani was spared the destruction caused by the storm, which was soon followed by heavy rains. However, the worst affected villages were Sukuta, Kayai and Tubakuta, where 2 people were killed when the wall fell on the women whilst they slept. Piles of bricks on broken beds and blood-stained clothing is all that reminds this family of a dreadful night they will never forget. According to the family patriarch, Alaji Kewulen Jane, he had just retired into his room after the wind started gushing, but was awakened by a sudden noise coming from his mother's house. I jumped into my mother's room, only to find her and 2 other people buried in the rubble. Kewulen later sounded the alarm bells, and soon help arrived to evacuate the occupants. 2 died on the spot, and 2 others sustained slight injuries. One of the victims was later buried at the village cemetery. The death has shaken this small community, and the outpour of grief and sympathy transcended across the whole of Nyani, as people come to terms with the painful manner in which 2 old women died whilst they slept. Now the process of rebuilding has begun in earnest, with some traveling from the city to help their families overcome the grief and destruction.
We are just trying to rehabilitate our house. Since yesterday, I went to the forest to cut some pieces of trees in order to rehabilitate this house. This is my father's house. The next house, which is my mother's, the other one is my stepmother, and the other 2 my children are sleeping there. Definitely, this thing has been very disastrous for us. It has affected us because at this moment we stop all our farming activities in order to concentrate our house in order to rehabilitate it.
Elsewhere in Kuntaur Lower Basic School, teachers were forced to close for summer earlier than anticipated after the roof of the teachers' quarters was blown off. Now the school remains deserted as all the teachers have left. The Kuntaur Health Center, however, suffered minor damage to the staff quarters, but services are not affected and it is business as usual. Further into Nyani, the village of Sugura is working to rebuild after more than 80 compounds were affected. According to the Alcalo, most of the families are struggling as the ensuing rain destroyed foodstuff, making life difficult for them. He therefore called on government agencies, NGOs and development partners to help. According to Per Ba, the chief of Nyani, such a destructive storm is unprecedented in his district and also appealed for help as soon as possible. The focus, he said, is to provide food aid to affected areas as most of the victims had their foodstuffs destroyed by the rain. He also called for help to rebuild houses destroyed, as most of the victims are poor farmers who had spent their fortune to build their houses. The wanton destruction caused by the storm comes at a critical time for these communities, most of whom are busy on the farms. They will now have to divide their time and resources on rebuilding their houses, as well as farming, something that could have serious ramifications on crop harvests. Mamadou Diallo, Grts.
Officials of the Ministry of Youth and Sports and partner agencies have been touring parts of the country as part of efforts aimed at engaging Gambian youths in meaningful agricultural and fishing ventures. Our Babukar Kamara went along and he tells us more.
Stuck on the mud for a journey en route to Sapo, a phenomenal encounter after a thrilling but painstaking exercise lasting 4 days in provincial Gambia, with the aim of assessing youth farms across the country.
It's a continuous process. The momentum is building up, but we thought that since he has dedicated the theme of this year's tour on mainly calling on young people, goes to indicate that the speed at which the youth are responding to go back to the farm is not very fast enough. And then we said, let's go and reinforce that call.
We should not allow foreigners to get control of our economy. Therefore, we held a meeting and we come up with an initiative called Agriculture and Fishing Initiative of the Young People.
Meetings held in Sapo and Soma have engaged a good